When we see the economical importance of bakery products are an important part of food expenditure. Consumption of bakery products have been falling since the end of World War II in some industrialized countries such as USA, Canada, UK, and Australia. Bakery products accounted for about 9% of the average weekly food consumption. For several thousands of years, man has used wheat and other cereals to produce bread with an average consumption of about 65 kg of bread per capita per year in Europe. So, in Europe, a single individual consumes 65 kg of bread per year. It remains an important constituent of a balanced, healthy diet. Let us now see about the microbial spoilage of bread. Microbial spoilage is often the major factors limiting the shelf life of bakery products. Spoilage from bakery growth or spoilage from microbial growth causes economic loss for both manufacturers as well as consumer, because that food is not fit for consumption. It has to be thrown away, and therefore it is a loss of money. So that is why we call it as economic loss. These losses could be due to many individual cases such as packaging, sanitary practice in manufacturing, storage conditions, and the product turnover. So, in all these steps, when there are any fault, losses can happen due to microbial spoilage. During the storage, the baked products, particularly bread, is subjected to a number of changes which lead to loss of organoleptic freshness. Organoleptic is when consumed, when tasted, right? It does not give a good result. So that we call it as the organoleptic freshness. The factors that govern the rate of freshness loss in the bread during storage are divided into two groups. They are those attributed to microbial attack and those that are a result of chemical changes or physical changes that lead to progressive firming of the crumb. So the outer portion becomes very firm and hard and leathery, commonly referred to as staling. The, the most common source of microbial spoilage in bread is mold growth of the fungus. Less common but still causing problems in warm weather is the bacterial spoilage condition known as rope, caused by growth of Bacillus species, which we will see later. Least common of all types of microbial spoilage in bread is that caused by the different types of yeast. Let us now see about the bacterial rope spoilage. Rope spoilage is a bread spoilage caused by bacterial decomposition of the bread crumb. The outer portion of the bread is called as the crumb, and there is spoilage caused by bacteria, and it will decompose the breadcrumb. Spoilage organisms are heat resistant spores of bacteria belonging to Bacillus genera. Generally, we use a very high temperature to bake the products. These bacterial spores can survive the baking temperature, and the members of the Bacillus genus that bring about bacterial spoilage of bread is known as the rope. The spoilage caused by the bacteria is known as the rope spoilage. This is the major economic concern to the baking industry because there will be lot of loss. Ropiness is the most common spoilage of bread after moldiness. Moldiness means the spoilage caused by mold is called as moldiness. And this occurs particularly in summer when the climatic conditions favor the growth of bacteria. Bacteria requires a very conducive warm temperature, and therefore this type of spoilage is more frequently seen in the summer season. It is mainly caused by the bacteria Bacillus subtilis, but Bacillus licheniformis, Bacillus megatherium, Bacillus cereus have also been associated with ropey bread. So all the above bacteria can cause rope spoilage. Most important rope formers are the Bacillus subtilis, Bacillus licheniformis, Bacillus mesentericus, which are also known as Bacillus pumilus. These are some of the bacteria that causes rope spoilage. The incidence of wheat bread spoilage caused by Bacillus has increased presumably because more bread is produced without preservatives and often raw materials such as bran and seeds are added. Wheat bread spoilage, that is the ropey bread, is more in wheat bread when compared with the white bread. Wheat bread is very commonly spoiled because of this bacteria, because it is prepared without the addition of any preservatives, and also certain raw materials such as bran or seed are added in the wheat bread preparation. The spoilage of bread by rope formation may cause health risk. This ropey bread is not fit for consumption, and if it is accidentally consumed, it can cause health problems. High numbers of Bacillus subtilis and Bacillus licheniformis in food may cause food illness. Consumption of ropey bread has been associated with foodborne illness. Nutrition and health benefits of chemical preservatives. For example, the usage of calcium propionate for the prevention of the mold growth or the bacterial growth from bread and other foodstuffs are expected to decrease the risk of bread spoilage by rope-inducing bacillus strains. Ropiness occurs in non-acidified breads and break down the bread components, and it leaves behind a sticky, pasty and a stringy mass which has a fruity melon type odor. So these are all the physical changes that occur due to the growth of the rope spoilage bacteria. Rope spores of microorganisms in the bread products are mostly present in the ingredients or the raw materials, especially flour and the yeasts. Yeast is used in the preparation of bread because it has to be fermented. Unlike molds that are destroyed when exposed to baking temperature, the rope spores are able to form spores and survive the baking process. They can germinate and they can grow. The origins of the Bacillus species are reported to be raw materials, particularly flour, and from the bakery atmosphere, equipment surfaces, and raw materials. Rope spores of microorganisms in the bread products are mostly present in the ingredients, especially flour and the yeast. Unlike molds that are destroyed when exposed to baking temperature, rope spores are able to form spores and they can survive the very hot baking process. They can germinate and grow. The origin of Bacillus species are reported to be raw materials that are used in the preparation of the baked products like the flour, and from the bakery atmosphere, equipment surfaces and other raw materials. When the bread is pressed together and pulled apart, if it is ropey, then it will stretch into long sticky web-like strands. So when you take a bread that has been spoiled due to rope spoilage, break them into two pieces and pull them apart, you can see string-like structures present between the two portions. It is only visible for a short period of time. Some strains do not even form ropes. A few species form ropes, but some of them even do not form ropes. The main characterization is therefore a fruity odor. A melon type odor will be present in the spoiled bread. Discoloration of the crumb, the change in color will be noticeable and a bitter taste may also develop. You can see in this image the rope spoilage that has taken place in a piece of baked product. And in the second image, you can see the structural changes, the physical changes that takes place due to rope spoilage. Packed wheat bread with a long shelf life, such as toast bread. They are stored for several months. These are highly susceptible. Ropiness prevention can be done through chemical or biological methods. They can use chemical methods or biological methods to prevent the rope spoilage. Rope forming bacteria are very sensitive to low pH values. Therefore, their growth is inhibited when chemicals are added to dough to reduce the pH. When it is acidic, there is less growth of bacteria. The most efficient chemicals that are used in bread making are the propionic acid, calcium propionate, acetic acid, and calcium hydrogen phosphate. So they can all reduce the pH of the dough. A dose of 1 to 5 gram per kilogram of flour bread leads to a delay of ropiness by 3 to 21 days and therefore it will be advantageous. Biological methods can also be used and it consists of the use of starter cultures of propionic bacteria. The Propionibacterium shimani is a bacteria that can produce propionic acid and this can be used as a starter culture which has antagonistic behavior towards the rope forming bacteria of the Bacillus genera due to the synthesis of propionic acid and some substance with antibiotic effect. So when this propionic bacteria is used, this bacteria will synthesize propionic acid and it will make the medium acidic. And it also has some antibiotic effect and thereby it will prevent the growth of the bacteria that causes rope spoilage. Other biological methods that can be used are the usage of sourdough. The sourdough is one we ferment the dough and the dough is a portion of the dough is taken and it is used again for fermentation. This is known as the sourdough, like we do the preparation of curd. Liquid yeast can be used. Lactic acid culture containing Lactobacillus plantarum, Lactobacillus bredii, Lactobacillus fermenti can also be used. In recent years, there has been pressure from both legislation and the consumers to reduce the amounts of preservatives added to food products. So the various accrediting agencies which give standards, specifications for the food they are giving pressure to reduce the amount of chemicals that has to be used in the preparation of the baked products and consumers are also becoming increasingly aware that chemicals present in the food may cause harm to their health and therefore a reduction in the dose of preservatives used to control the mold spoilage in bakery products may lead under certain conditions to a reduction in the shelf life of the product. When appropriate amount of preservatives are not used, then it can cause spoilage in the baked products. Staphylococcus aureus is one type of bacteria known to contaminate the pie fillings. Sometimes plain bread is used, and sometimes fillings are used in certain baked products such as the pie fillings. This microorganism has also been implicated in food poisoning outbreaks from cream-filled bakery products. So the Staphylococcus aureus can contaminate the pie filling. It can also contaminate the cream that are used in the preparation of the baked products. Other bakery ingredients such as chocolate, desiccated coconut and cocoa powder were found to be contaminated with salmonella. So these are all used in the preparation of various types of baked products, and when these ingredients are contaminated, and it can cause, for example, frozen pizza is significantly affected by Salmonella typhimurium. An unusual spoilage of bread is the red or the bloody bread, which is due to the growth of bacteria Serratia marcescens. This organism produces a brilliant red color on the starchy food, giving a blood-like appearance. That is why it is called as the red bread or bloody bread. Neurospora and Geotrichum may also be involved in imparting the red-colored pigmentation during the spoilage of bread. In this image, you can see the bloody bread or the growth of the microorganisms that cause red color decoloration. Mold spoilage of bread is due to post-processing contamination. Bread loaves fresh out of the oven are free of molds. When they come right from the oven, we do not have any molds or mold spores due to the thermal inactivation during the baking. But bread becomes contaminated after baking from the mold spores present in the atmosphere surrounding the loaves during cooling, slicing, packaging, and storage. The environment inside a bakery, if it is not sterile, dry ingredients like flour contain mold spores, and the flour dust spreads easily through the air. It has been estimated that 1 gram of flour contains as many as 8,000 mold spores. Production operations such as weighing and mixing of the ingredient also can increase the mold count due to the contamination present in the air. In large bakeries where segregation is possible, the flour handling areas are separate from the cooling and packaging areas of the finished product so that the microorganisms that are present in the raw ingredients does not contaminate the cooked product. Bread crust is rather dry, and if the relative humidity of the atmosphere is below 90%, mold will not grow on it. So the crust is almost dry, and if there is proper control of the humidity in the environment, mold growth will not take place. It has been estimated that 1 gram of flour contains as many as 80,000 mold spores. Sliced, wrapped bread is more at risk because the moist, cut surfaces are an ideal substrate for molds to grow on, and the packaging prevents the moisture loss. The rate of mold growth in various breads depends on the recipe and also on the processing method. Brown and wholemeal breads, that is, the bread that has been prepared from whole wheat, appear to become moldy very earlier than the white bread because the mold growth is clearly visible on the dark surface. On the white surface, even if there is mold growth, because of the white color, people may not be able to see that there had been mold growth. But when whole wheat bread is used for the preparation, the color of the bread may be light brown in color or brown in color, and therefore mold growth will be visible as white patches. Cultured breads such as the rye bread tend to have a slightly longer shelf life because of their increased acidity and lower pH. Bread that is prepared out of rye has a low pH, and in the acidic environment microorganisms are not able to grow. The processing method has also been shown to have an effect on the rate of mold growth. The most common bread spoilage molds are the Penicillium species, although Aspergillus species may be of greater significance in the tropical countries. In wheat bread, spoilage occur due to Penicillium, Aspergillus, Cladosporium, Mucorales, and Neurospora. Rhizopus and Stolonifer is the common black bread mold. It has a very fluffy appearance, like a cottony growth, cottony mycelium, and black sporangia. Neurospora cytophila is another type of mold which is reddish in color and is found in bread stored at high humidity or wrapped while it is still warm. So this Neurospora cytophila grows in the bread when the bread is not brought down to the room temperature before packing. So when the bread is packed while it is still hot, moisture will be present in the packaging material, and this will cause the growth of mold. Storage temperature has an effect on the type of molds growing in the bread. Aspergillus species was reported to cause mold spoilage of bread in India, while 90% of molds isolated from a range of bread in northern Ireland were Penicillium species. So Aspergillus as well as Penicillium can cause mold spoilage in the bread. In addition to spoilage, some molds present a severe risk to public health because they produce mycotoxin. Exposure to mycotoxin can occur either directly by eating bread spoiled by mycotoxigenic mold. That is, when a person consumes a bread that has been spoiled by mold, the problems will occur because of the mycotoxins that are present or produced by the mold and present in the baked products. Or it can also sometimes occur indirectly while the people consume the products of animals that have been fed with contaminated bread. For example, if the cows are fed with contaminated bread, the contaminated bread produced mycotoxin may appear in the meat or it may appear in the milk, and thereby contamination can occur in the human beings. Mycotoxins are very resistant and can survive the heating process designed to kill the molds. They are resistant to the high temperatures. It has been reported that 10% of Aspergillus species and Penicillium species are toxic to mice, that is, the rats.